A very warm welcome to all of you. Myself Rajan Choudhary, Professor in the Department of Civil Engineering, Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati, Assam. I am the instructor for the NPTEL MOOC course Pavement Construction and Technology, funded by Ministry of Education, Government of India. Today's lecture will be under Module 5, where we will discuss the different equipments which are involved in the subgrade construction or in the earthwork. At the very beginning, I would like to acknowledge the use of text, information, graphs and images sourced from various textbooks, codal standards, journal articles, reports, newsletters and public domain searches. Now, it is very important to understand what type of equipments can be used and how they can be useful for achieving a good quality of construction. Specifically, here we will discuss about the aspects related to the earthwork. So, the standard equipments for the earthwork, we have IRC guidelines also, like we have the IRC SP 97, which discuss about the guidelines on compaction equipments for roadworks, especially on compaction equipments. Then there is one specific codal guidelines IRC 125 2017, which discuss especially about the dozers which are widely used in the earthwork. Then we have this pocket book for road construction equipment IRC 2018. From the rural roads also we have manual on construction equipment for rural roads. So, it gives a good description. MORD 2016, it gives a good description about the earthwork equipments. Now, if I put up these equipments under different categories, like we discussed in the previous lecture, we have clearing and grubbing as one of the major activity. So, there what type of equipments, we will discuss these equipments in the subsequent slides. So, in clearing and grubbing, you can have a dozer, you can have a motor grader, a hydraulic excavator, a backhoe loader and a ripper and a tipper truck or a truck trolley is there, depending upon how much quantum of work is there and what type of project it is. Then construction of embankment, including and the earthwork includes the construction of embankment, also the construction, the widening also, where the work has to be widened in terms of, so you need to again construct embankment, shoulder there along with your subgrade part. So, for that one again you need to go for use of hydraulic excavator or backhoe loader, tipper truck or tractor trolley, dozer, motor grader. Then here there are certain attachments which are also there, like ripper is there, scarifier is there, disc harrows are there for mixing the soils, and they can be attached to your tractors, dozers, motor graders and hydraulic excavators to perform different activities. You need to have the dewatering pumps also, water tanker also, and then you have these compaction equipments which have your mainly vibratory rollers, static rollers, sheaf foot rollers, pad foot rollers, pneumatic tire rollers. We will discuss these ones in the subsequent slides. Now, currently you all are aware that the road development is going up in a massive pace throughout our country, and because of this development of road sector, both in terms of the scale and in terms of the technical demands also, the standards have raised to very high standards. We are constructing roads which can last for periods even more than 50 years, and the functional requirements has increased, the structural requirements has increased, design standard has increased with in due course of time, and there is a strong pressure that the construction has to be completed in a given small window of time itself. So, and along with that, what is happening to do all these activities, there is again a great shortfall of skilled labor. I am talking about skilled labor specifically, or skilled in, for these construction activities, because of which there has been a major shift towards large scale mechanization in construction activities. So, the rapid growth of road sector both in scale and technical demands, along with a shortage of skilled labor and push for shorter construction timelines. You might have seen the target is, even we are constructing roads at a pace of more than 20 or even have reached to 30 kilometer of national highways per day at certain cases. So this is what the current targets are there in this road development sector, and because of which a major shift has happened towards mechanization. Now, the earthwork equipment is usually classified into two broad categories. The first one are the track machines. They are having on a pair of crawler tracks, especially this is there. You can see this is the crawler tracks which are there. So this is one particular set of machine. We call them as track machines, and they are mounted on a pair of crawler tracks, which provides better traction. The important part is you get a good traction when you are using these crawler tracks, and there is a lower ground pressure. So these kind of things are quite suitable if you are working on soft soils, if you are working in hilly terrains, you need a lot of traction is there. So there this kind of crawler tracks are very important. So track machines play a good role. Wheeled machines that are mounted on specifically on pneumatic tires can travel faster, they can move faster from one place to the other, cover long distances on their own power. In most of the cases where crawler tracks are there, you have to shift these machines using some other machinery from one construction site or one place to the other. The ground pressure is more, but since they have pneumatic tires, the ground pressure is more. Traction is bit less and may result in slippage. So this may be one concern, specifically because the traction is less and hence not preferred specifically on soft and sloping grounds. Now let us see what different kind of earthwork equipments which are there and how they are put to use. So one quite common equipment is dozer. Now it's a self-contained tractor power is there. It's a self-contained tractor power, and you have both crawler mounted also and a wheel mounted also. So unit with a blade attached to the machine's front. You can see this is the blade which is attached to this machine's front. It is quite basic, effective and versatile equipment, widely used in construction projects, and it is very common on construction process. It is, and it can perform various activities. Versatile activities can be done with the use of this dozer, and we have the IRC guidelines also, guidelines on dozers for highway works, IRC 125, and they itself works as a support machine to some other major construction machinery or as an independent unit on construction projects. And what purposes they can serve? They can serve the cleaning of land, of clearing land of timber, stumps and root mat. With this particular blades, we can clear the land. Excavation of earth, excavation of a length to a certain extent can be done with this for a short haul distance, because as I said, this is if crawler mounted units are there, they can haul it to a shorter distance comparatively. Once they can spread it, if you put some windrows of materials, they can spread that material also, spreading earth or rock fills and leveling of the land, and they can level if there are small ups and downs or undulations are there on the land. Backfilling of trenches, there if some existing trenches are there, then this can push and fill up those trenches. Clearing the floor of borrow, quarry pits and construction sites. Borrow areas, if you have the borrow areas, it can be used for cleaning and grubbing exercises also, even required at your stone quarries and the construction sites for clearing exercises. Now this is another very common equipment used specifically on most of the construction projects. It is a hydraulic excavator. It is a self-propelled one. You don't require anything to move it from one place. Yes, but for longer distances, since it is a crawler one, so you need to have it moved from one place or one side to the other using some other equipment, especially the trucks, to shift it from one construction site to the other. It is a self-propelled machine on a crawler or wheels also. Sometimes you can see this is a wheeled one, but the most common one we see is the crawler one specifically, and it is capable of 360 swing. So you can see here it can go for a swing of 360 degree. This is the wonderful part of this machine. So it can work in all directions standing at one place. Mounted, primarily designed for excavating, and it has a bucket. So you can see this bucket can be lowered and up with the help of the bucket shoulder, and this stick can be this particular part can be lowered and raised with using the stick cylinder, and this entire boom can be raised to a great height with the use of these boom cylinders. So this top one is a revolving structure which can rotate in 360 degrees. So it can work on slopes as crawler unit is there, so good traction is there, and this with this particular bucket it can be used for multiple purposes. An excavator work cycle normally comprises what it does: excavating, elevating, swinging and discharging material. So it can pick material from one place through bucket and dump it at the other place. It can be used for site clearance, initial site preparation which is required, even in your clearing and grubbing exercise also it is used, quarrying operations, cutting and filling operations, construction of embankment, and lifting and handling of materials. So it is one which serves multiple purposes at construction sites. Now the other one, motor grader, very widely used specifically in earthworks as well as in the construction of granular courses. Now again you can see it is a self-propelled wheeled machine. You can see there is a front axle, there is a rear axle, front wheels are there, rear wheels are there, having an adjustable blade. This is that particular blade which is adjustable. This blade can swing. This blade can swing, and it can become, instead of this horizontal which it is shown, it can exactly be raised and made as a vertical also. So this particular one, this blade which is shown here, can be made vertical also. So you can have this particular, presently the entire blade can be used for say scraping, for cutting down to certain slope, for mixing. If I raise, if I am having a certain location on this site where I am finding this is a raised part, I can lower it down, I can remove to a certain depth. If I am finding only a small width is to be required, I can raise this particular the blade in this vertical manner, so I'll scrap it for this particular width. So it's a wonderful equipment, widely used. It is used for mixing, it is used for spreading the material, it is used for bringing it to a grade. So a motor grader is a self-propelled wheeled machine having an adjustable blade positioned between the front and rear axles, which cuts, moves and spread materials. So with this blade you can cut down any, if you find that the your subgrade one particular layer has been constructed in a thickness which is more than the desired one, so you need to cut it down to a certain depth. You can use this to cut down to a particular depth and to a certain grade, because the angle can be adjusted for this particular blade. It can be adjusted, the angle can be adjusted. You can adjust the angle of this particular blade. So with this particular one you are able to maintain the cross slopes also. General applications of the motor grader includes finishing works, shaping, bank sloping. Slopes can be created, ditching, because with this particular one you can form the ditches also by the edges of it by changing the angle of this particular blade. Moving windrows, spreading the material, mixing two materials can be done with it, spreading, leveling and crowning, because you can create the cross slopes using this particular, see it is spreading the material. It can be used, you sprinkle the water and then you use this motor grader blade to mix that water, sprinkled water with the soil. So crowning, landslide, snow clearance, for that particular purposes also use. General construction and maintenance of dirt roads and haul roads, specifically the unpaved roads can be also maintained with the help of this motor grader. So this is one versatile equipment which is again used for the construction activities related to subgrade and your granular courses. Then there is another equipment which is known as scraper. It also serves multiple purposes. It is a self-propelled or towed crawler or a wheeled machine. Both you can see, this is a wheeled one and this is a crawler one. Depending upon the type of site and the challenges associated with a site, if there is a loose soil, if there is a soft soil, and there are sloping and there are slopes which are there, steep slopes are there, you will prefer to go for crawler ones there. So, having an open bowl with a cutting edge, so it has an open bowl, I'll discuss with this, positioned between the axes. So, it is positioned between these two axes, which cuts, loads, transports, discharges and spreads the material through forward motion of this machine. So, and this can be done for shallow cuts and haulage up to a small length of around 200 to 300 meter. Now, see what is happening. This is the loading part. It is traveling in this direction. You can see there is a bowl. This bowl is lower down in this particular one. You have an ejector which is presently in the rear position. This is called its rear position. Now, you have this bowl which is lower down, and there is an apron which is presently in a raised condition. You can see there is a gap. So, the apron is in a raised condition, the bowl is lower down. So, it will cut your soil. Now, once this particular one is filled up, the bowl is raised. Now, you can see the bowl is raised here, ejector still remains in the same position, and the apron, this particular apron is now lower down to close it. So, this here what we are doing, we have loaded the material here, and then we need to carry the load, this loaded material. So, I may require to do cutting at one place and filling at the other place. So, I am doing cutting here, then I am taking that material and I will dump that or spread that material where it is, where filling is required. So, at the next one, what is happening here in this case, when the spreading or the releasing of the load is there, this bowl is again lowered down and the ejector moves forward. So, this material is pushed down, this material, and an apron is raised. So, we are doing here, we are cutting the material, and here finally we are spreading the material. So, this is how it works out. So, it serves purposes, and for a small distance it serves purposes in a very good manner. Now, this is another very common equipment. Many of us have seen it at many construction sites. Even small construction projects also makes use of backhoe loader. So, there are two components here in this particular one, backhoe loader, and it is one of the commonly used construction equipments nowadays. Even at a small construction sites you can find this particular one. Now, it is a self-propelled one. It can by its own, it can go long distances. You might have seen it many a times traveling along with our own passenger vehicles on the national highways and state highways. Self-propelled crawler one, normally most of the times you will find the wheeled one. The crawler ones, as I said, specifically where the challenging terrains are there, the crawler ones are used. And designed to carry, what it is specifically designed, both front mounted equipment with loader attachment. This is the front part and it has a loader. So, it can load soil mass here or any aggregates, any other construction material can be loaded in this particular front loader. And there is a rear mounted equipment which is a backhoe attachment. This is the backhoe attachment which is there. So, we call it as a backhoe boom is there, as we were having the boom in case of hydraulic excavator also. Similarly, this is a backhoe boom which is there, and this is the stick part which is there, or the arm of this particular one, and this is the backhoe bucket. So, it can pick up, it can dig, it can cut down, it can pick up the material and can shift the material from one place to the other in this case. In addition to this one, when working on challenging sites, we have these stabilizer legs also to make it stabilize. So, it can work on sloping grounds also with the help of these stabilizer legs also. So, it is useful for light excavation, small scale excavations. If big scale excavations are there, we can have that hydraulic excavators with us. Trenching, small trenches or drains needs to be constructed or drains needs to be prepared, earthen drains needs to be prepared, very well can be done with this particular one. Backfilling along the CD structures like culverts and other parts where some small trenches are there which needs to be backfilled, we can use this particular one. Material moving, it can be used for moving the materials with the loader which is there. Light underground utility works can be carried out. Site clearance can also be, with the help of the front loaders, it can be done. Loading and other miscellaneous jobs. Now, the capacity of the backhoe loader is specifically in the range of 1 to 1.2 cubic meter, and what we have, the backhoe bucket which is there, this particular one backhoe bucket which is there, is having a capacity of around 0.2 to 0.3 cubic meter. So, it is a versatile equipment, again used for earthworks. Now, with this particular one, there comes the requirement. Once you have brought the soil, you have dumped the soil, you have spread the soil with the help of the dozers, with the help of your graders. Now, you need to compact it. I haven't discussed the water tankers which needs to sprinkle water, because that we discussed in the previous lecture. So, once it is, the soil is spread, you put the water over it through the through water tankers having proper sprinkling arrangement is there, so that there is a uniform distribution of water is there, and then you can mix it. You can mix it with the use of rippers also. You can see there are rippers are also there. I'll just show you. Yes, grader. This grader, you can see at the back of it there are rippers. These can be again used simultaneously. So, many more attachments, rippers can be attached to this particular one, and they can simultaneously serve the harrows can be attached to this particular one, and they can serve the other purposes, or they can help us in doing the mixing part. Now, once that particular part is there, the compaction needs to be started. And compaction is a very important process, and it comes as a mechanical process in which the soil particles are reoriented and brought close to each other, reducing air voids and confining water within the soil mass, so that we try to make, we have discussed, this compaction help us to improve the wearing capacity, the shear strength, the density, the impermeability of the soil mass. So, here we do the compaction through the mechanical process using the different kind of compaction equipments. The soil in a field should have maximum density, what we try to get from our laboratory scales designs which are there, through which we figure it out. These soils can achieve this kind of density at a particular moisture content, and we want to achieve a certain percentage of that density in the field also. And so that once those densities are achieved, the soil is capable of supporting the remaining portion of the roadway yet to be placed, because the upcoming layers are going to come over your earthwork or the embankment and the subgrade construction. And these compaction equipments help us through rolling, through the movement of these compaction equipments, we are able to achieve the density. Various types of these rollers, we call them as a common name as rollers, are commonly used for compacting soils when the soil is there in embankments and subgrades. And the choice of as we'll discuss many type of rollers, we'll discuss where they can be used. So, the choice of the roller, I can use a static 3-wheel roller. A picture has been shown here. You might have seen in some places working with this one, or I may use anything like this one, which is called as a sheep's foot roller or a pad foot roller, similar appearance is there, or I may use a vibratory roller, or this is a pneumatic tired roller. So, there are different rollers, and they can be used in a combination also, or they can be used for different purposes. So, their application depends on layer thickness, what we are targeting, what type of materials are there, properties of the material being compacted. So, we will discuss some of the compaction equipments or the rollers. The one widely available and used is the static rollers. As the word itself says, we are going to have some static mass for making the soil or to get the soil compacted. So, a static roller typically consists of a smooth wheel drum. You can see this is a smooth wheel drum, which is manufactured as 3 rows or tandem rows self-propelled units. You can see there are this is a 2-wheeled tandem rollers. There are 2 wheels, which are, one is there on the front and one is there on the rear, and this can be, we can call it as 3 wheels. One smaller one in the front and 2 bigger ones but less wider ones at the rear. So, it works on the principle of static pressure. As the load is there, it applies a static pressure, which is defined as the ratio of static weight. So, more is the weight, more is the pressure which is going to be applied, and the length of the contact of the rolls with the surface, how much, what is the diameter of this particular drums, that will help us to know how much amount of static pressure can be applied over it. The detailed guidelines are given in IRC SP 97 about these construction equipments. Now, in this case, when you have these static, specifically 3 wheeled rollers has true driving steel rear wheels and a steering steel wheel in the front. So, they specifically this is the one which moves, and this is the one which is driven. So, here this particular static 3 wheels has true driving steel rear wheels and a steering wheel in the front. So, this is the one which is going to drive, and this moves in the front. Now, the contact pressure exerted by the roller helps in densifying the underlying material. So, and they comes in different capacities. The usual one normally comes in a 8-ton capacity. We normally, when we refer in terms of tons, or it is an 80 kN capacity which is there, usual weight of the roller, which can be as high up to 100 kN also. And normally what is done by the induction, or by adding sand, gravel, water in front and the rear wheels, you can increase the weight of these rollers also. So, this is how it looks like. You can see this, the top, this is one, the conventional 3-wheel roller is there. This is the front one. There is one on the rear end this side, and the other one will be on the other side. Now, another very common equipment which is used specifically in the compaction of soil is your sheep's foot roller or pad foot roller. This is how it looks like. The name comes because it resembles how this front drum which is there, the projections which are there on the front drums resembles to the sheep's foot. So, what is specifically here there in sheep's foot has metal projections of various shapes. Specifically, this has a shape which is cylindrical or circular shape, and it penetrates, these projections penetrates and compacts the lower portion of a soil. When it penetrates, goes down, it compacts the lower portion of the soil. It has one or more hollow steel cylindrical drums. Typically have one hollow steel cylindrical drum with rows of steel studs which are there like a sheep's foot mounted on it. So, these are the steel studs which are there. You can see these studs which are there on this particular one, sheep's foot roller. Now, it compacts the soil from bottom. The typical process which happens when this roller, sheep's foot roller, moves over a soil mass is the pads penetrate through the top lift. Specifically, loose soil is there. Initially, it is a loose soil. So, when it moves, compacts the layer below, these projected ends goes down, compacts the below part, and when the roller moves ahead, as each pad exists, when it moves ahead, it gets existed, it fluffs the surface. So, it makes the top surface loose again, or it makes it fluffy. Now, leaving a loose top layer, but it has compacted. When it has gone down this projected part, the lower part get compacted. So, with this particular one, we are starting the compaction of the soil from bottom up in that case. When a new fill is added and when you put a new layer over it, again you go with this sheep's foot roller, then what will happen? The fluffed part will get compacted. So, when new fill is added, the underlying layer is further compacted, while the top is fluffed again. So, this is how it processes we starts the compaction from the bottom up part in that case, continuing the bottom up compaction process. So, this is a typical process which is achieved of compaction with your sheep's foot roller which is there. Now, another one which is slight deviation is specifically we call them as pad foot or tamping rollers which are there. Similar to sheep foot, but the important is the lugs of larger areas or the projected areas are larger and they are tapered. So, here you can see these particular one are comparatively bigger and they are tapered one. Now, when we have these tapered projections are there, or the pads are, since these pads are tapered, therefore, when the pads comes out of the lift, there is no fluffing which happens during the compaction. So, it comes out smoothly because these are tapered ones. So, that helps us to achieve a good compaction here in case of, because there is no fluffing which is happening, or less fluffing you can say is happening in the top portion when we are using the pad foot rulers, or we call them as stamping rulers. So, as per IRC SP 97, if we compare some of the salient features which are there with the sheep foot roller or with a pad foot roller, then we can have the roller pad and pad face. It says specifically in case of sheep foot, it is cylindrical or circular, which resembles more like a sheep's foot. Here we have a tapered one and a rectangular one. So, these projected ends you can see in this particular one, they are tapered one, rectangular one in this case, and whereas in this particular case you can see these are rounded ones. These are, so sheep foot roller, you can see these are the rounded ones. So, this is the pad face and the type of pads which are there, and another is specifically here you need to move at a slower speed. This you can go for higher speeds also while doing the compaction. Compacted soil thickness, it can go up to a thickness of 30 centimeter. Normally we have seen that when we are compacting a subgrade soil, the normal recommended thickness, compacted thickness is 25 centimeter, and here it can go for compactions up to 30 centimeter, and even in case of pad foot rollers it goes to certainly a higher thickness compared to your sheep's foot roller which is there. Best suited for clay and cohesive soils in large projects, because there it is difficult to compact these clay soils. So, especially with sheep's foot or pad foot rollers, it is they are quite helpful when these cohesive soils needs to be compacted. Now, vibratory roller. These are also known by name as soil compactors, because these are very popular in compacting these the soil masses. So, we have this self-propelled single drum vibratory roller. This is a common one. You can see there are pneumatic tires at both the ends, and this is the single drum which is there in the front, and it is a vibrating one. So, that is why it is known as a vibratory roller. So, you have a vibration also. In addition to, with this vibration you will be having an impact, you will having a pressure also. So, pressure will be also applied, impact will also get applied when, and then when vibrations are there. So, these three actions are getting combined when you are having a vibratory roller. Is widely used in soil compaction and typically have one steel drum. Typically they have consist of one steel drum in front and two pneumatic tires in the rear. And you can see again these pneumatic tires are having these pad foot tired rollers are there. This one specifically in these pneumatic tires, and what the purpose is to have a smaller contact area with this particular one. Now, and this will help us to further compact the soil mass, because it will help us to generate more amount of pressure, because the contact area is less. A greater static linear load along with higher amplitude on the steel drum will result in better soil compaction, and as I mentioned, these are many times known as soil compactors also. Vibratory roller forms an improved version of an ordinary smooth steel roller. We have seen earlier where the steel rollers were there, 3-wheel rollers were there, and static 3-wheel rollers, static 2-wheel rollers were there, smooth wheel rollers were there, and they forms attaching and this vibration, how this vibration is attained is through attaching rotating weights to the axle. So, that helps you to give the vibratory actions here. The vibration is generated by one or more eccentric weights rotating on one shaft, specifically the front shaft centered in the drum. Self-propelled vibratory rollers may be single or tandem vibratory drums may be there. I will show one picture. Yes, this is a tandem vibratory roller you can see. So, this is also used, but for soil you will find most of the time this smooth drum single drum vibratory roller is used. Now, this have a dead weight. usually varying in the range of 8 to 12 tons. So, you might see in many of the specifications they say that if you need to go for compaction by 8 to 10 tons or 8 to 12 tons or 10 to 12 tons of vibratory rollers in that case. So, the drum drive is provided with hydraulic motor which provides, this is you have the hydraulic motor which provides the tractive forces. When you have tandem vibratory rollers, this is tandem vibratory rollers has vibration and drive on the both the drums. So, that is there because vibrations have to be produced from both the drums. So, that is when you have tandem vibratory rollers. Now, important part is, now when you have these vibrations, there are two components which comes into picture. One is the frequency and the second is the amplitude. So, both of them are very important, specifically how much amount of amplitude is there and how much and what is the frequency of the vibration. So, in general what is said that high amplitude and low frequency is specifically required when soft soil masses are there. So, when you are compacting soft soil masses and the thickness is more, so you are going to apply for higher amplitudes and lower frequencies so that they get compacted. So, this is when you are doing for the soft soil masses having larger thickness. And on the other hand, if you have the stiff soils and shallow depths are there, stiff soils are there, you will prefer to go for lower amplitudes but higher frequencies. So, this is, you can control the amplitude and the frequency of these rollers, vibratory rollers. So, this is a very important part in these vibratory rollers. When you do the compaction, as I mentioned earlier also, we need to construct trial stretches and then we work out what number of vibratory passes will give, what number of plane passes without any vibration will give. So, a combination of these passes needs to be understood, and in this combination what level of vibrations will be given. There will be levels of vibrations also. As I mentioned, the amplitude can be varied and the frequency can be varied. So, it similarly it says that thick layers requires higher amplitude and low frequency compared to thin layers where you require low amplitude and high frequencies. So, this is additional advantages. This help us to compact to a greater depth and to a uniform density and in a shorter period of time. For instance, a roller may operate with high amplitude and low frequency. So, initially when I am starting, say for an example, if in the beginning when I am starting where a soil mass is loose, so I will prefer to go with a high amplitude and a low frequency.